All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Wholesaling the Cool Way. I'm your host today, Jasper Cool, here with my dad, Mark Cool. And this is your first time listening. We each run our own wholesaling businesses focused in the state of North Carolina. I'm primarily doing more houses. My dad is used to be doing more land, but he's transitioning into pretty much everything these days, which is exciting. And so, if you guys have any sort of questions or anything about wholesaling, if you're just getting started, or if you're more experienced and you have any questions about creative or land deals, my dad's the one to reach out to. If you have any questions specifically about wholesaling houses, you can feel free to reach out to me. You can find us both on Facebook. Just search us by our names. And on this show, we usually like to talk about our past week in business and just kind of highs and lows, tips and tricks, and what's going on in our businesses. So usually we like to start off with inspiration, which could be podcasts or books or anything else that we've listened to over the past week that's inspired us. So you want to kick us off?
Oh, sure.
All right.
Well, let's see, yesterday and this week, I've been listening to an audiobook by Adam Grant. It's called Hidden Potential. Have you read that one?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, really good stuff. I guess he's in that ballpark of Malcolm Gladwell or what's the other guy we were both reading that same book. It's good stuff about human nature and what motivates us and drives us, and insights into people and how they operate. And I'll just speak to one takeaway I have from yesterday. I was listening to a chapter on perfection, and
Mm-hmm.
the idea that perfectionism can be really like a disease, because it's never good enough. Whatever you do is never good enough. You could achieve something, and then you're just on to the next thing, and you're never satisfied. So the cool distinction that he made was that the opposite of perfectionism is not do your best, because do your best doesn't really get very good results. And he had science to back it up in studies and stuff, but because do your best is
Yeah.
not measurable, right? So he was saying that the antidote for perfectionism is specific measurable targets that are challenging. And so he used the
Mm-hmm.
example of he was a high diver in high school, and he was such a perfectionist that he would get caught up in trying to do each dive perfectly. And you could do this thing called a balk, which is like if you're going out the diving board and your approach wasn't correct, you could back it up and then go over, and that's allowed. But he was spending most of his time balking because he was trying to get his approach so perfect that he never got into practicing the dives and progressing through his dives.
Huh.
And so, because he had to get everything perfect before he could do the dive, right? And so his coach, it sounds like his coach is amazing. And actually, speaking of amazing coaches, he brings in an anecdote about the guy who ended up coaching Curry uh, and is Curry's trainer. But with this one, he was saying that his coach was like, okay, we're going to just start giving you a score to shoot for, and you're going to, like, he was talking about how good enough is better than perfect, right? And we've heard the saying, done is better than perfect, but also like picking your battles as to where you need to really excel and where you can be, good is good enough, right? And so this guy was like, the coach was like, we're gonna let your approach be good enough. We're gonna focus on the dive, and I'm gonna score you on your dive every time. And then we're gonna set a score so you're competing with yourself on the dive. So like if you get a 3.5 on this dive, it's a win, right? And so then when he gets to 3.5, then it's like, okay, now your goal is 5. If you get a 5 on this dive, it's a win. And that helped him progress much more rapidly than trying to get his approach perfect and get the dive perfect. It's just like having a target to shoot for. And
Yeah.
the other thing they talk about in this chapter, speaking of Curry, is how um, making making stuff into a game accelerates progress and growth far more than drilling. So, like if you're drilling over and over and over the same thing, it becomes frustrating. You get bored. You get fatigued from doing the same thing over and over. But if you make it into a game and you make little games out of it, and this is what the coach did with Curry, is like all Curry's drills are games, and all his games he's competing against himself, and the bar just keeps getting higher and higher, and the complexity keeps getting more. So it's always a game, and that has been proven scientifically. They did control groups with like basketball players where they had one set of basketball players just dribbling, sprints, shooting, this and that, and then they had another group of basketball players where they're doing controlled games of like oh, we're playing 1-on-2 in this one. We're playing 2-on-3. Oh, this player can only pass. Oh, this player can only shoot, but they can't dribble. Like they would do stuff like that and gamify it, and those players progressed more than the ones who are just drilling. So
Yeah.
interesting stuff. Just a really great. And they talked about it with this musician who was actually this woman who was deaf, and she won like the highest award for music, and basically is in the same category as Elton John and a couple other super famous musicians in Great Britain because she gamified it. And the other thing about the making things into games is creating variety with like things like you don't just, if you're doing basketball, you just don't just shoot mid-range jump shots and then just dribble and then just do 3-pointers and then just do conditioning or footwork. You find a way to make games, but you rotate through the things so that you're not just doing the same thing and getting bored and burned out on it. So all really cool
Yeah.
stuff about personal growth and learning. I really appreciated the piece on perfectionism because I can definitely get into that trap instead of just moving forward. So anyway, that's my takeaway from that one.
Nice.
Yeah,
Sounds like a good one.
and we talked about the Deal Lab. Yeah, it's Adam Grant, Hidden Potential. I think I mentioned this in a previous episode, the story about the chess team from the inner city where he brought all these inner city kids and they wiped up the elite, all white prep school. It was fun. And he talked
Yeah.
about how the psychology of how he brought them there.
Yeah.
But and then the Deal Lab session was good this week too, just talking about lists and list pulling and getting more effective results with your lists and with cold calling and stuff. So I appreciate
Yeah.
that. But yeah, I did a long piece on the Adam Grant book, so I'll wrap it up there.
All right. Good stuff. Yeah, for me, I just checked in little bit offline, but I started a new book called Crucial Conversations. I don't have quite as much to share as of yet, but I'm liking it so far. It just talks about how to handle crucial conversations, which can be anything from breaking up with someone to firing an employee to just having a difficult conversation with a family member or anything in between. And they listed all these examples, right? But I was liking that so far because he said there's three options when you have to have a crucial conversation. There's one, you can avoid it. Two, you can do it and you can do it poorly. Or three, you can do it well. And wouldn't we all like to do it well? So that's a great hook. That was like in the first chapter. That was a
Yeah,
good hook. But he also talks about a lot of people just choose route number one, which is just to avoid it.
yeah,
And he said that in these studies, like he cited a few studies, but in these studies in various, forms of those conversations, which could be firing an employee, breaking up with someone, or, like I said, like a difficult conversation with a family member. They did these studies and just putting it off makes the conversation 10 times worse. Where
mm-hmm.
if you just had a conversation, like obviously doing it well is the goal, but if you just had a conversation and you didn't do it very well, that's 10 times better than just avoiding it. Because then when you talk about it in 3 months or 6 months, then all of a sudden it's going to be much worse anyway. So
Yeah,
that was just a good thing for me, especially because I'm someone who tends to avoid confrontation and conversation. So it's part of why I'm reading this book, because I need to get better at that. But yeah, so I'm excited to learn more about that. I'll probably have more to share next week, but it's a good book so far if anyone's looking to improve in that area.
yeah,
And then, yeah, I also shared with you offline, but we went to the Cars and Coffee thing yesterday. It was my first time going to one of those. It was really cool just to see everyone, so proud of their cars. And there were some really cool ones there. And then there were just some, stock cars that people just bought or whatever, but it was really cool. And they did it at the Lamborghini / Ferrari dealership here. So that was also open up, to the public to just go and look at all the cars that were at the dealership too. So it was
yeah,
just really cool to see all these like super cool cars that I don't always see up close like that.
yeah,
Sometimes we'll see them driving by on the road, but it's really fun to see up close and see inside to the dash and see how all these cars look up close. So that was really fun.
yeah. Sounds
And
great.
yeah, and it was just cool to, I was texting you about it, but it's just cool to see like how big this idea is. I don't know if it's one person's idea or if it's just like maybe like a pickleball group where just a certain person takes it upon themselves to start this in each city or whatever. I don't know, but it's really cool because I first found out about it because I used to see videos about it in Los Angeles because I think it's like huge there. But here they're doing it too, and I found out that they do it every single weekend. It's just like at a different location. So
Ah,
I guess I got to get on the. I guess I got to get in the Facebook group or something, figure it out. But it was pretty cool. That was fun. And yeah, I guess I could wrap it there. I also watched this Warriors Lakers game last night, which was really fun for me. But I feel like I always check in about that. But it's just fun for me to watch two of the best players of all time go at each other. That was fun.
yeah,
And when they guard each other too, I think that's fun too.
yeah.
And it was a good game too. But it was a bummer because towards the end they had a shot clock issue, and the issue was so bad and wasted so much time, and they couldn't fix it that they literally had the PA announcer just say 20 seconds, 15 seconds,
Wow.
10 seconds, like that, like, because they couldn't fix the shot clock. And I was just like, wow. But also, like, even though I think they should have been able to fix it, I think that was kind of cool that they didn't keep delaying and delaying and delaying. And they're just like, okay, we're just going to have this guy talk it out loud so the players can hear it, and we're just going to get on with the game. So
Never seen that
that was
happen.
kind of, yeah, all the players were like, we've never seen that happen. And then, like, LeBron and Steph were joking because they're like, we're too old for this, because when you're playing in this intense game and then you sit for 30 minutes and then you have to finish the game, it's like worse than if you were just to play through the whole game.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was a fun game nonetheless. So that was good. But I think that's it for me. So we can switch gears and jump into business check-in. You want to kick us off?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of a slow week for us in terms of KPIs. We got one contract this week. Made a lot of offers. I
Nice.
mean, we made. I don't know where my offers are. Sorry, I'm not like you. Still don't have it at my fingertips. We've been
That's
making
okay.
more offers because we have a cold caller on board for the last 3 weeks. This was their third week, so they're bringing in 15 to 20 leads a week. So we're making offers on those plus the leads we're generating. We're generating
Nice.
10, 8 to. I think Lucky and I, my SMS guy, figured it out Saturday when we checked in. We're doing about 8 leads per day on SMS that we're pushing to the CRM. So, 8 times 5
Nice.
is 40 plus 15 for the cold caller to 20. So we're, like 60 leads a week ish is what we did this week. And I don't know how many offers on that we made. It was somewhere between 10 and 20 offers. So the contracts will come. But we got one contract on a piece of vacant land. What was the date of the beginning of this week? Oh, today's the 17th. So actually, we got two contracts. Sorry, I'm looking at my Slack where we post our contracts in the contract thread. So we got two vacant lands this week. So two contracts. Sorry, my bad.
Nice.
And then yeah, and then we closed one deal that kind of dragged on. Should have closed last week. That was a piece of vacant land too. So not a huge profit deal, but at least it was our minimum average that we want to get on a piece of land. So our so we closed that one, and we didn't sell any. Still, we've have I can go into that a little bit more, maybe in challenges or just story about where we're at with stuff. We got a lot of stuff like poised to go on the market, or we're still working on tenants or things like that have been holding us up. So I think we're going to have sort of like a floodgate situation in the next few weeks where all of a sudden we have tenants out or we have things locked down and we can really market and sell some of these deals that we have under contract, but we've been holding back. Um,
Yeah.
so then as far as victories go this week, I shared with you offline, Jasper, we committed to hiring 2 people from Matt Larson this week. So we're bringing on a cold caller from them, which is his company's called Rapid Assistance, I think. Is that what he calls all the VAs, Rapid Assistance? Or is it just the cold callers?
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, we're bringing on a VA or a cold caller with them, and then we're going to bring on an acquisitions VA, and they will be like a lead manager. They'll be like you're on your team, Michael on your team. This person will be calling the warm leads and doing the intake, and then following up with offer presentation with them. So that's going to be really big for us.
Awesome.
Yeah, it'll allow us to move faster with acquisitions, get more contracts, and then it'll allow us to also up our generation of leads, which is something I've been talking about the last couple of meetings of just needing to like 2x where we've been with lead generation. So the cold caller is one step toward that. We may add a second acquisitions person. We have ramped up our total SMS going out per day. We were at 1,000 to 1,500, and now we're between 15 and 2,500 a day SMS going out. So that's good. And then, like I said,
Nice.
we'll see how this cold caller goes. That'll give us 2 cold callers. We'll probably add a third cold caller as long as it goes well, and maybe add an SMS and just really ramp it up. And as long as we're talking logistics of marketing and lead generation, we're gonna drop direct mail for now, just because our response rate has been so low on it. It's been like 0.5% response rate, and it costs a lot of money. It's the most expensive lead generation channel that we have. It's like the last sample size I looked at from the last 3 months of 2023, we were at like $86 per lead or something like that for direct mail.
Mm-hmm.
And, we're talking about 20 to 30, 40 maybe for cold callers and SMS. So it's more than double, maybe triple what we're paying for these other channels. So we're taking a break from direct mail, and we're doubling down on SMS and cold calling for our marketing. And I'm pumped about getting the acquisitions person on the team to help us with getting more contracts. So
yeah, that's going to be huge.
Yeah. And I was going to look at what we have in Dispo just so I can speak to that for a second, because we have a bunch of things in here. I'm just pulling up my portfolio really quickly. We have one where the tenant was supposed to be out Friday, and the sellers are supposed to let us know. We haven't heard from them, so that's not great news. We've been waiting for this tenant to move out, and it's one of these situations where they've been delaying and they've been making excuses as to why they're not out. So, we've seen this movie before, right?
Yeah.
So I think what I'm going to do this week is, if the tenant's not out, I'm going to go to the sellers and just say, hey, you guys want us to just close this with the tenant in there, and we'll deal with the tenant, and you give us a little bit of a discount, and see if they go for that. Because I don't think, we'll see. I mean, fingers crossed, knock on wood, maybe the tenant will actually move out this weekend, or maybe they're already out and I just haven't heard from the guys yet. So we have 10 deals in disposition right now. And
nice.
Yeah. And so we got 4 houses and 6 pieces of vacant land in dispo. Let's see, I'm just trying to summarize this. So for the houses, we've got the kooky ones where we have, let's see, 3 of these houses have tenants in them. So we're dealing with that. We've got tenants in one of these they're supposed to be out the 1st of April. So we're waiting for that to show it, because, we don't want to be dealing with a tenant, and also they're friends with the sellers, and we're going to wholesale this. So we don't need that weird dynamic possibly, happening.
Yeah.
So we got that. We've got a mobile home that I just mentioned with the tenant who's been delaying and delaying. We've already extended with the sellers once for 30 days because the tenant wasn't out, and we had a provision in our contract that we get 30 days to close after the tenant's out. So we might have to extend with them again. And then trying to look at what the other house is. The other one's the subject 2 that we have. And that one, we're doing the walkthrough on Monday, and that's our pal Duncan is doing that for us. He's meeting one of the sellers and the sheriff there because there's been issues with the tenants. So we're going with the sheriff and our inspector and one of the sellers to make sure we can get away photos and stuff. So that Duncan is
awesome.
He's like, this ought to be fun, so it'll be interesting to see what we get from there. And then we've got another one that's a tear down house, and we got it under contract, and it's an out-of-state seller, and they were like, yeah, we haven't been there in years. It's probably a tear down. And so we contracted it at one price, and then we went and got pictures and inspection and everything, and it really is a tear down. Like, the foundation's bad, the roof is bad. It got flooded at one point. The walls are all rotted out and stuff, and the floors. So we went back, and I'm proud of my acquisitions lead manager. She was able to get a price reduction. I think that's her first one ever. I had previously done all price reductions. Yeah. So we got a price reduction from $25K down to $10K on that. And So hopefully we can now sell it. And, it still has the benefit of having the property cleared and having the services on there and everything. So hopefully we can make a profit on that. And that's the round.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm not going to go into the land. We've got 6 vacant lots available. One of them, we've talked about vacant land and issues and stuff. None of these have title issues, which is great. We just canceled a few that had title issues. So everything here should be saleable. We have a couple
Nice.
with like ditches and stuff where people are like, oh, I don't know if I can build there because there's a ditch. And so we have to deal with that with the planners and things. But we don't need to go into detail about that. It's just standard land stuff. If you haven't done land or if you're new to land, it seems like land has more issues than houses sometimes because you've got ditches, you've got septic, you've got perk tests, you've got drainage, flood zones, and then not to mention title. For some reason, is this true for you, Jasper? Do you think there are more issues with title on pieces of land than on houses? You run into
Yes, by far.
Yeah, because
By
for whatever
far.
reason, land just sits there and it gets passed down, and then people die and they don't have a will, and then you got to go back and trace the family tree and blah 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 on, and then somebody doesn't want to sign, or there's a husband and wife that divorced, and you have to get the ex to sign. It's like it's not always, but they're just it's become just standard for us that like 1 out of every 4 land deals is going to have some major title issue. Maybe 1 out of every 3. It's just
Yeah.
So just be prepared for that. If you're jumping into land, just keep getting the contracts because 25 to 33% of them are going to fall out because of title issues or other issues with the land. I would say, based on we did 50 deals last year and 25 the year before. I've done a lot of land deals, so. And if I've closed that many deals, that means I've had another 30% that didn't close or something. So above that. Anyway, I think that's it. So for challenges are these tenant challenges. I guess I sort of segued into challenges already. And then we had to cancel a few deals because we've had title issues or whatever. So that was a challenge. That's always a challenge. It's never fun to work on something for a while or even find a buyer and then find out you can't close it. And then, I think that's it. I think that's my roundup for the week. We're working on another sub 2. So I'm going to follow up again with those people on Monday. They're the type of seller who needs a lot of information and a lot of time to think. So it's like expecting that. I think we have a good enough rapport that they will go with us when they pull the trigger. I think they're not talking to anybody else. But as we talked about last week, you never know when people are talking to anybody else if they're the type of person who answers the phone and talks to anybody. Because
Exactly.
some people, it's very old fashioned. Some people like always pick up their phone and always answer it, right? And so if that's a cold caller and they're talking to them about an offer on their house and they're already in the mindset of working on selling their house, then they might talk to that cold callers. Anyway, fingers crossed that we lock down the second sub 2. That would be 2 sub 2s in the month, which would be exciting. And sub 2, like Jasper said earlier, like I love doing sub 2 and we're going to do more of it. So if you need help JVing on those, or if you're a wholesaler and you just don't want to deal with them, but you have leads that are low equity but high motivation, that would be a great sub 2 lead, and we can JV on it or pay a finder's fee or whatever. Happy to do it. I want to do more of those.
Yeah.
And that's it for me.
Awesome. Did you have anything you want feedback on or anything?
I don't know.
That's okay if not.
Do right now. I do have a thing that I need to get feedback on offline. I can't do it on the podcast. Sorry, everybody. Maybe down the road.
No problem.
All right.
No problem. We can
switch over.
We'll just switch over.
Yeah.
I got plenty of challenges for us both. So. But yeah, it was a good week overall. I'll touch on the challenges last, but despite the frustrations, I did get very frustrated, but I still managed to have a good week, so I'm happy about that. But so I'll just kind of run through from the top to bottom, so I hope I don't miss anything. So on our last meeting, I mentioned to you how I also had an issue similar to yours with the tenants. I mentioned to you that story. So for anyone who is interested in hearing a little bit more backstory, you can feel free to listen to our previous episode. But I'll just kind of pick up where I left off. So basically, I had this deal under contract since December. We were trying to close in January. The tenant did not move out, and then they were supposed to move out about 2 weeks later in February. Didn't happen, and here we are, middle of March, and they still hadn't moved out. And so on our last episode, I shared that basically I was kind of stuck with this buyer, or at least I felt like I was, because his lender had already wired in the funds and basically refused to accept his funds refunded to him, even though the attorney offered to do that. He just wanted to get his interest and get his money like the way that he was promised, I guess. So I understand that, but it was also kind of weird. It's my first time dealing with something like that. Anyway, so long story short, after our last meeting, we neither one of us really knew the best route to proceed, but I figured I'd just try it from all angles. So basically, I reached out to the buyer and I told him, "Hey, man, I'm sorry about the way this ended up, but I need to get this closed for the seller. So either we're going to get this closed, or you're going to have to give your lender his money back. We're just going to terminate, because I'm not going to wait longer on you also and this tenant issue already." So I told that to him. He was cool with it, and he spoke to his lender, and he was like, "Okay, I'm willing to give this one last shot, but I understand, and we can cancel if the tenant's not going to be out today," because basically leading up to our last meeting, our meetings are usually on Sundays. We had tried on Friday to get her out and give her $1,000 if she was out. She totally didn't get out. And then she said, "Oh, come back tomorrow. I'll be out tomorrow." So I feel bad for my buyer, because it wasn't him, but his boots on the ground or whatever went out again Saturday. She wasn't out. And then unbeknownst to me, they went out again Sunday and she still wasn't out. So when I called him on Monday, he was just super pissed off as well, because they went out there literally 3 days in a row and she's still not out. And so we were on the same page at this point, and he was like, "This is our last chance. If they're not going to do it, then yeah, we'll just terminate." So I was excited about that, because okay, even if she doesn't get out, it's a bummer, but I can at least sell it to a buyer who doesn't care, and we'll just evict her after we close. So I felt happy about that resolution with the buyer. But she got out, so that was a major victory, and we're hoping to close tomorrow. So that's super exciting.
That's great.
But yeah, basically, yeah, I know. So we'll see. Hopefully we do close tomorrow. There's one more small hurdle, but the tenant is out and the property has been secured with plywood and change locks and everything. So, because my buyer, kudos to him though. He doesn't really mess around when it comes to that sort of thing. So basically he was telling me, he was like, "It looks like she might have left, but then she broke back in because the windows are broken and stuff." And he was like, I do not want to deal with this. So you need to tell her, we're coming with plywood and we're coming to secure the house. And so that's what I did. I told her, I was like, "Hey, this is your last chance. I'll extend the $1,000 offer to you for this day, but after today it's over and you're going to get evicted by the seller and you're going to get absolutely nothing. So I would recommend, you cooperate with us this time." And to her credit, she did. So she got $1,000. They plywooded the house, they locked it up and everything. And yeah, so that was that. It has a happy ending after all, after a few months. But yeah, for anyone listening, I guess the takeaway there is that you just need to be more firm with tenants from the get-go. The seller was a very nice guy, and so when she told him in January, "Oh, just give me 2 more weeks, I need 2 more weeks and I'll be out," he believed her. I didn't. But at that point, I wasn't gonna. I try to give people the benefit of the doubt, so I was like, "Okay, let's give it 2 more weeks." But then when 2 more weeks came around, I started telling the dude, I was like, "Dude, you need to file for eviction. She's not gonna move out." And he just, for whatever reason, he wasn't.
Yeah.
Some of these
Same thing
sellers,
that
they
happened
just
with this
don't.
one I'm talking about. I gave them the eviction template all printed out and ready to go for them to
Yeah.
submit.
Yeah. I mean, and for those people listening, this is how we get, good deals, because these sellers, they just procrastinate, and maybe feel like they can't do it or they're scared to do it. But certain scenarios like
Family.
this, it seems like some sellers, yeah, I mean, family, but certain scenarios seems like sellers just freeze. And so obviously that's where we come in as problem solvers. But yeah, for anyone listening, I guess be more firm with tenants is my main takeaway. And then also, just don't sell to a buyer in these situations who's requiring it to be vacant. That would be my main takeaway. Try to find a buyer. And even though this was a limiting belief for me when I first started doing deals with tenants, I was like, no buyer is going to buy a deal with tenants. But first of all, if the tenants are paying, buyers do, and they do it all the time. And if the tenants aren't paying, buyers still do it because they have way more experience with evictions than the sellers do. And a lot of times they don't even have to do evictions because they can get creative. They can do cash for keys. They can incentivize them otherwise. They might have another rental property they could move these tenants into. So there's always scenarios that you just want to kind of put the weight on your buyer's plate because they're professional investors and they do this every day. So for my standpoint, that was my error on this one, where I sold it to a buyer who wanted it vacant, and I believed that it would be vacant. So that was my mistake.
Yeah, I guess
But enough for that.
the
I
other
just want
takeaway is just like don't believe tenants. Unfortunately, it's kind of a jaded attitude, but like
yeah,
it seems like
yeah,
75 to 90% of the time they don't leave when they say they're going to leave. Maybe that's
absolutely.
maybe that's higher than, but at least 60 to 75% of the time, probably 75% of the time, right?
Yeah, at least maybe more.
Maybe I'll
Probably almost every time.
75 to 90. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, so that's basically the story on that one. Hopefully it'll have a happy ending this week and I can share the whole story again next week when we close it. But that was that. So that feels like a big victory to finally have that saga over with the tenant.
Yeah, that's
We do have like a crazy ex-wife who's a bit estranged, but the seller's driving out to meet her actually today, and he's gonna hopefully get things signed and fax them back. So kudos to him. You know, he's been definitely getting his money's work or working for his money or whatever on this deal. He's because he lives in Asheboro, North Carolina, and his property's in Hope Mills. So he's been driving 2 hours like every week to check on the tenants and stuff. And now he's driving to South Carolina to meet with his ex-wife, who wants to meet with their ex-wife, right? So he's doing everything he can to get this closed. So I really appreciate this seller too. But yeah, so that's that. I'll move on to the next thing. So next, I'll tell a quick closing story. We did have one closing this week, so I'll tell a quick story on this one. I think I already shared briefly about it in a past episode, but basically, this deal was from originally from a cold call lead, and the cold call lead came in March of 2021. So check that out. That'll be 3 years this week. So almost 3 years ago, we first got this lead. And this lead was for a separate seller, separate property. We followed up with them for 2.5, 3 years, and it was no, 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 no. And then luckily, last month in February, we followed up with him, and my acquisitions asked the question, which we always ask, but it's, do you have any other properties you might consider selling, or do you know anyone who's selling a property? And in this case, he gave us a referral, and it turned out to be a good one, and we got it closed this past week. So it wasn't without some challenges, though. Yeah, so it wasn't without some challenges. It was kind of like you just shared on one of your deals, but basically we locked it up at a price that I thought would work because it's in a great area in Durham, and close to the North Carolina Central University. A lot of new construction going on over there, a lot of flips.
Yeah.
And so it was a good price for a flip. But then after we got access to the property, which I shared with you, but I spent way too much money on a locksmith, and I got access to the property. And then we figured out it was totally shot. Like the floors were soft, foundations damaged, the house was literally leaning. And it's funny because I had to call the seller to get a price reduction, and I just kind of relayed the feedback because one of my buyers was like, "Dude, if we had another strong rain, this house might fall over." And he was joking. He was joking, but I told that to the seller, and he thought it was kind of funny too because this seller's just a nice old man. But either way, like on some deals, when we need a reduction like this big, because we needed like $60,000 off on some deals, I might just like cancel with the seller. But this one, I really wanted to make it work so we could pay this guy his referral fee and maybe get another referral in the future. So I really wanted to make this deal work, and the old man was super nice, so I wanted to close it for him. But long story short, we were able to get the reduction and we were able to sell it. And after I did get the reduction, I actually got a lot of interest when I remarketed the property at our lower price, and I probably could have sold for slightly higher, but I really just wanted to get it closed ASAP. So I went with this buyer who was all cash and ready to close it in a week. And so we did that. And seller was super old school, so he wanted to drive to the attorney's office, and he was like, "I'm not signing unless I get my check." And you have those sellers. He's like, "I need my check before I sign the deed." I'm like, "No, it's not the way it works." All this stuff, but. Either way, kudos to my buyer because I've had plenty of sellers like that. And when buyers are not, prompt and on time with their signing and paying their funds and everything, then the seller can just be sitting there all day or might have to come back the next day. And then they get super pissed. And so kudos to my buyer for, funding everything. The seller was there. He had to wait like an hour or two, but he got his check pretty quickly and he was super happy. So
That's great.
Had a happy ending. And then I mailed out. We called the seller who referred it to us. He was super excited. I mailed out his check, and I might get another referral from him in the future. So that was a good deal overall.
It's a good
But
story.
I guess the lesson there is just to follow up. I say that all the time, but this one was almost 3 years before we got a profit from this seller lead. So very cool. And the old man that we worked with, who was a referral, he has another property, so we might get two deals from this. So we'll see. But very cool. Um, and yeah, what else? What else we got? Oh yeah, I signed up with this new service that I wanted to mention on here for you and anyone listening. So it's called National Vendor Management Services, NVMS for short. And I heard about this through CG, but I never took action on it, and I did so this week because I had a few random properties that were kind of outside the area that the company that I usually use for pictures, like they don't serve that area essentially. And so I found out that about this company. They've been around, I think, since like 2003, so a lot of experience. Their website looks like they started in 2003, so just be forewarned if
Well,
you
so
see.
does Velocity REO, though. That's not a really fancy site either.
Yeah, wait till you see this one. Wait till you see this one. It's even worse. but but it's cool because they offer a lot of services. And so, just briefly, I could run through it for anyone who's listening. But basically, they're nationwide, just like Velocity REOs, which my dad just mentioned. But Velocity REOs is a great company. They seem to have a little bit less coverage. After speaking with the rep from this company, they seem to be like just absolutely everywhere, even in the nooks and crannies of your states. And they do all kinds of stuff. So you can do a trash out order. You can have someone cut the grass. You can have someone do lock change and lockbox, which I just needed help with on this deal I mentioned. And you can have someone bid. Like if you just have a totally random request, you can just send it to them and they'll find someone to do it and they'll give you a bid and then you can approve or deny it. You can do maid cleaning, so house services. If you need a house cleaned before you close on it, you can do winterization services. You can do trash out services with these guys. And then you can also do, the standard thing, which is just photos and video walkthrough of a property. Um, I will say their pricing is much higher than Velocity. I'm doing a test order with them, which should be done next week, so I'll report back. But they also do more things. So not only would they send you, if you just do a standard like interior, exterior pictures, they'll send you all the pictures, but they also send you like 2.5 page report, which goes over literally everything in the property. Like this is what I would rank the neighborhood. This is what I would rank the
That's
foundation. This is
great.
what I rank
Yeah,
the windows. This
that's
is
worth
this,
the
this, this.
extra money right
So
there. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So it is quite a bit more pricey. So for those of you, if you're newer, I would recommend Velocity REOs first. But for this one, I would recommend using it for like a deal that you already have under contract, because then you want that extra information to help sell your deal. So I would still use Velocity just for, taking a quick first look at a property, because they're like 20, $30. But this one, they're much more detailed and they seem a bit more professional overall. So I'll report back next week. But for anyone who's interested, again, it's called National Vendor Management Services. Totally free to sign up, and they just bill you once monthly, which is kind of cool. So you just sign up with them, place as many orders as you want. They'll bill you on the first of the month, your invoice for the previous month, and then that's just how they roll. So you don't have to pay every time. But that's a pretty cool service, and I'm definitely gonna be using them for like the random stuff, because like when I need a lockbox or a lock change, they do that. Velocity does not do that. They do, like I said, the trash out, lawn cutting if you need a lawn cut, and they do all kinds of other random stuff like that. So
That's cool.
yeah, that was a victory to sign up with those guys.
Yeah, that's a great tip. I'll put it in the notes for the show too. And like I've been using Thumbtack. We use Thumbtack, and then we've used mobile
Yeah.
notaries. Like sometimes you can look for mobile notary, and they'll do photos for you and stuff. But if this is one stop, and one of the issues we've had with Thumbtack is people seem to be gouging more on price. Like your locksmith, Jasper, he charged you way too much.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had a guy, it's like
Absolutely.
kind of like when people figure out you're a real estate investor, then they're like, oh, these people have money. I'm going to just charge them the highest price I can. Or they know you're in trouble, like not in
Yeah.
trouble, but you have urgency. They will like capitalize on your urgency and like charge you a higher price. And so I like the idea of having this with maybe more, at least it's one more option for getting those services. And we're just talking about boots on the ground. We're talking about you're doing a deal, you're not close to the deal, you don't want to drive all that distance, so you're trying to get somebody to do it for you. So that's a great tip. And like I said, we've used Velocity REOs, we've used Thumbtack, And Thumbtack is tricky sometimes too, because they're not everywhere, or like you'll be going to a small town somewhere and there's one or two people who do the thing you need to be done, and they might either not be available, or they might charge a ridiculous price, or
Yeah,
be unreliable or whatever. So if these people have a bigger sort of database of providers, that's great too. So great tip.
definitely. Yeah. Yeah. And last thing I'll share, for me, working with Velocity, one of their big upsides is that they'll contact the seller and schedule a photo appointment for you. So it takes it off your plate. And these people, same thing. So you can just provide the contact info for the seller or the tenant or whoever's at the property, and they'll reach out and schedule it on their own. So you don't have to worry about that.
That's really
So
nice.
that's
Yeah.
nice.
And like Jasper said, Velocity is a whole lot
Yeah.
less expensive. I mean, you can get photos for $20-$30 depending on what you're trying to do. Sometimes it's more if you have to pay home to drive
Yeah.
extra, but $20, $30, really.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, there's that, and then other victories for this week. Other victory for this week is that I reached out to two attorneys that I'm working with currently, and I basically asked them if they would help me by sending like a first letter for like specific performance, like if a seller is ghosting me or something, we're trying to close. I basically asked them if they would draft me like a simple letter. I told them, if we need to actually litigate, I would, pursue that with a litigation attorney. But they both said yes, so that was exciting
Oh,
for
nice.
me that I don't have to necessarily like open a file with a litigation attorney, pay a huge retainer just to get that initial letter, because I think sometimes that can be enough to help your sellers, get them back on track. So that was a win for me too.
That's a great idea. That came from a Deal Lab session, right?
I think I actually came from you. I think
Oh yeah, we've talked about that
I
before.
think I just yeah. And so I thought about that, and I reached out to the two attorneys that I'm closing with now, and they both said yes. So that was exciting for me.
Yeah, that's great.
And yeah, I think that might be it for victories. Uh, yeah, I guess. I'll move along to challenges. So challenges is ongoing over the past few episodes. The saga continues for me. So I mentioned over the past two episodes that I first tried this year by sending out properties without the address. It didn't work. I still had people trying to go behind me. And then I think after we spoke about that, you mentioned that they could be possibly scouring Register of Deeds for like memorandums or something, and then snaking me. So I was like, okay, so I'll stop doing that. And so I stopped doing that like immediately once we sign a contract. I stopped filing memos, so that wouldn't happen anymore. And then I also shrink down my list to like all the buyers that I had done business with before, and I thought were super legit buyers. And so this past week, I sent out my deals to those people, which I think the list was literally like 35 people. Like it's very small. Like it wasn't even everyone I've done a deal with. It was like people I've done repeat deals with who are like, these people are legit. What I was thinking, and it still happened. So now I'm kind of at a loss. I really am frustrated because I don't want to say we've lost, but I'm hoping these sellers might come back around without having to sue them. But basically, we are currently, I don't know the word to say because I don't want to be so negative, but we've missed out on $75,000 in revenue this month because of this. And so just that alone is a great month. And now I missed out on that because of this. And so it's very, very frustrating for me when I have these sellers that are just, oh, I've just changed my mind. Oh, this is happening. I'm just like, dude, it's not true, obviously. And this one seller even reached out to me and told me, after I sent it out to my VIP list that I thought was my VIP list, he reached out to me and told me, hey, I just got this. Someone just reached out to me. They sent me a picture of this email, like what's going on. So, I told him what's going on, everything. And I thought I had smoothed it over. And then 2 days later, because I talked to him and he was like, oh yeah, I don't really care. Like I just want to sell a property. I know I already signed with you. Like I don't really care. Because basically they offered him 10,000 more to sign with them. And he basically told me, no, I don't care. You guys have been good to me, all this stuff. And I was like, oh, cool. So like, save that one. Then 2 days later, he calls me and he's like, oh no, like my family's doing this. Like he blamed it on his family. I'm like, dude, I literally told him, I was like, dude, are you sure this isn't what we talked about a couple of days ago? Because it sounds kind of fishy. And he was like, oh no, it's my family, all this stuff. And I'm like, no, it's not. But I didn't want to be a dick to this guy, so I was just like, okay, and I just kind of let it go. But I told him, we are under contract, we do have a memorandum filed, all that stuff, and he still stuck to his story. So there's a possibility it's true. I just think it's like a 0%, 0.1% chance that that's the truth, especially after what he told me. So
Yeah.
for me, the frustration is twofold. It's number one, firstly, with my buyers, it's really frustrating that I shrunk down my list to who I thought I could trust, and someone still went out of their way to contact my seller and try to offer them 10,000 more. And so it's frustrating for me because I don't know who it is, and I just feel like I'm at a loss right now because like I don't even know if I can send out deals anymore, and I just don't know who it is because I really thought I could trust these people. So that's frustrating for me. The second part is I'm frustrated with myself because having 3 of these deals in the span of 2 weeks where sellers are just canceling on me, and like I shared, this was $75,000 already assigned to buyers, already scheduled to close this month. So now it just feels like a major upper limiting problem on myself, and it feels very frustrating because it's something you always have to deal with as an entrepreneur or just a person in general. But I feel very frustrated myself because I know that whether or not it's my buyers, they're obviously being rude and going behind my back, but it's definitely me at the end of the day. So it feels frustrating that that's still going on, especially because it's not like I'm having a great first quarter. I'm having a pretty bad first quarter, and I'm still dealing with this. So it's frustrating. But I would love any feedback on both of those points. But for me, it's like sending out deals, whether or not it's an upper limit problem. I think it definitely is. But in terms of sending out deals just to mitigate this risk, I might just stop sending out deals, and I don't really know where that leads me. Maybe I have to buy every property and list it on the MLS or something like that, or maybe I shrink my list to like 5 people and I only text them, and maybe that's what I do. Like maybe people I've done 10 plus deals with is only who I send it to. But I don't know. I'm just like so confused.
Yeah.
And last thing I'll share, which is just me venting, but these two that were the most recent cancellations were the two PPC deals that I was excited about. And I was going to finally make a return on all that spend because I spent like 15K and had nothing returned. This was finally going to put me in the green, and now they asked to cancel. So it's really frustrating because now I'm just like, oh, great. Now I want to cancel PPC, but I'm not going to do that right now. But anyways, that's my frustration, and that's really my main challenge that I've been dealing with this month, it seems. So any
Yeah.
feedback is
That's rough.
to it.
So
Yeah.
frustrating when you have people who are dishonest like that too. And I mean, that's the thing with this business is like the more money there is, the more you get people who are dishonest. It's
Yeah.
people who are willing to do whatever for short-term gain. Um,
Yeah.
and they're not really thinking about long-term. I guess the one question that came up for me is like, can you ask the seller who approached them, who sent that email?
Yeah, I did ask him. He didn't share, but I did ask him.
Well, you could ask him in a
And usually,
more personal way and just be like, hey man, this is really affecting my business, that people are going behind my back and, trying to steal deals from me. If you wouldn't mind, I'd love to know who it was. Just like people are more likely to comply with a request if if you have a because statement. Would you mind sharing with
yeah,
me because it's cost me $75,000 this month? That might, be like, wow, that's really painful. Well, here's the guy's name. I'm just saying it might be worth it to try again because
yeah,
then for sure. Because then I like when you were talking, I was like, God, do you have a mole? Do you have somebody who's like actually hacked into your Google Drive or your system and is like seeing your contracts as they come in, or hacked into your e-sign platform or something? You know what I mean? And like they're just like every time you get a contract, they know and they're going after like it's crazy when you're losing that many deals that in that quick. I mean, I know that, like, I don't know for sure, but I know if I went back and looked at some of these deals, I know people have gone around us and stole stuff, and some are more obvious, but man, that's brutal.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean, I guess it is tricky to figure out how you do it. Are you gonna file a suit against these people who have canceled on you, or are you just gonna let it hope the memorandum gets you results?
Well, that's the thing that I'm running into now, which is the frustration also that I'm having. So, 2 out of 3 of these deals that I mentioned that the sellers canceled on me in the last 2 weeks, and 2 in this last week. But anyways, 2 of the 3 gave me that same excuse, which is the family excuse. And so in that scenario, it's weird because it's like I don't want to say I don't believe you, but I totally don't believe you.
Yeah.
And so it's like, do I just come out of left field and just reach out to them like next week with a follow up, like, hey, we're gonna file suit. Like that kind of feels like a dick move, but at the same time, I just don't believe them because I've had this happen before. I had this guy tell me, and I really hope that this isn't true, but I had this guy tell me that his wife's in the hospital and all this stuff to get out of her contract. It's sold 2 weeks later for a higher price. And I'm like, dude, maybe that was true. And I wish the best for that guy and his family, but it just seemed like a total slap in the face and a lie to me. Where it's like, why can't you just tell me the truth? Like, hey, someone came along, they offered me 10,000 more. Because there's a chance if you tell me the truth that I would be like, okay, well, we can actually match that offer and we can get you 10,000 more. But now that you lie to me, I don't feel like I'm in the position or the mental headspace to give you any sort of increase in price. I just feel like, okay, F you, I'm just going to sue you. But it's like if someone was just honest with me and they told me who it was and they told me the scenario, then we might just increase in price and then it's a wash. Then you get more money and you're working with me. So but then when they lie to me, then it puts me in a weird situation. At least I think it's a lie because it's like, do I just tell you not only do I not trust you, but I'm also going to sue you because you told me your family got involved? It's like it's super weird because just 2 days ago, this specific seller that I mentioned was like, how soon can we close? I really want to close before April 15th because I want to pay off taxes. And I'm like, yeah, it's no problem, dude. We can close in March. Like we'll close this month. And then, 2 days later, now his family's involved and they don't want him to sell it. And I'm like, dude, are you sure? Like I asked him multiple times before we got off the phone. I was like, dude, are you sure you tell me the truth? Like I can handle it. Like what's really going on? He's like, no, like he just named all of his different family members. These people have a problem with me selling the house. I'm like, okay, dude, just to let you know, we're still under contract. Like I'll be here. We're ready to close. And that's kind of how we left it off. But it was just weird.
Yeah, I mean, maybe there's a question in there that you can formulate, or some questions of just like, "Hey, Mr. Seller, is there any chance that this is all happening because somebody's come in and offered you more money?" You know, and see what they say.
Yeah, well, that's what I said to this dude. I told him straight up. The other dude who canceled for me for the same reason, he just won't answer my phone calls at all. So that's just a challenge in and of itself. And then the third people, they just told me they changed their mind. So I'm gonna have to probably file suit on those people. But either way,
Yeah, I'm waiting for my current specific performance suit to pan out before I file any more because, I mean, we still don't know how effective it is. Like we technically won the suit that we're currently under. Like they have 30 days to respond once you've served them with papers, and they didn't respond after 30 days. So now we technically have won. Like all our claims are admitted into the court, and then you have to go to a judge and have them create a court order for the other people to sell. But what Matt Larson was saying is that people, you can get that, but people don't always sell anyway. They just are like, well,
yeah,
I'm not doing it.
yeah,
So like you had success with one. This is my first one that's gone all the way to term. The previous one, we had an issue with the identity, but so I'm going to wait and see on this one if we actually get any result before I do other ones. But man, it just seems like if you think you can get results, you should sue all these people. Like the person who sold it, you said closed it for 10,000 more or whatever recently. I don't think you should let people off the hook because they give you a sob story, because I've gotten the same stories. Oh, it's my family, they don't want me to sell, or
yeah,
or just I've changed my mind. We're gonna go to a different direction. Is when I got the guy that we just won the court part of. Was like, oh, going in a different direction. And then when I
yeah,
asked him about it, he got belligerent about it. Like I said, we're going in a different direction. That's all I'm saying. And I was like, dude, we were under contract, and you just asked me last week when we were closing, and now you're going a different direction. What's going on? Same thing. So
yeah,
those would
yeah,
be the common ones of, it's my family doesn't want me to sell, so I can't, or we've changed our minds, we're going to. And like the other one that canceled on me that I haven't filed a suit on yet, they said they didn't trust us, or they couldn't get us on the phone or whatever. Like that's another smokescreen, I think.
yeah,
We're not sure about your company, and they were the same thing. They were asking when we were going to close, and they were all ready to close like a week before that. So it's
yeah,
happening more. It seems like people are more willing to compromise their own personal integrity in favor of money. And the bigger the dollar amounts get, then the more people are willing to do that, it seems like. So I don't know what the answer to that is. Like you said, like Do you just handpick investors, or do you just send it out one at a time? Like, who would I want to do this deal with? And then you text that person, and then if they don't,
Yeah.
text that person, like, and then you've got a limited sample
Yeah.
size, because it seems like it has to be coming from your mailing list. Otherwise, somebody is literally hacking your system, or somebody on your team is selling your leads, which could be a thing too. Like, it's not, you could have somebody on your
I don't.
who is actually like talking to the enemy and like giving them leads and being like, "Hey, we got this under contract," and then they get a kickback for it. Because if you got a VA, like, what's somebody going to give that VA? Like, I'll give you $1,000 if you give me all Jasper's contracts. $1,000 per contract.
Right. Yeah.
It could happen. I'm not saying anything bad about anybody on your team. I'm just like, what could be happening here? I'm just trying to figure out.
Yeah.
Or somebody's either hacked into your system, somebody on your team is betraying you, somebody on your mailing list is betraying you, or it's the thing we talked about where it's just a lot of cold callers calling all the time. But that's not the case on this last one, because the person actually forwarded them the email, which is really a douche
Yeah.
move. It's really bad.
Yeah. I mean, that's been happening to me ever since I started this business. Like, I've gotten that so many times, but this year has been on every single contract I've gotten. And so there's a direct correlation between when I send out the deal and when it happens. So that's what I think it is. The team member thing is a possibility. I definitely don't think someone's hacking me, but maybe. But there's a direct correlation between when the deal gets sent out and when they ask to cancel. So it's usually the same day or the next day. So.
So you think it's somebody from in your mailing list?
Yeah, definitely. And especially on this last one, because they literally
Well, it's
sent
somebody in your
him
mailing list there.
the picture. So I'm sure I'm hoping that it might be that same person that's did a lot of these deals, but there could be multiple people on my list. But I would hope that it's like just one, and then I could remove them. But I don't have a way of knowing right now.
Well, at least you
So it's good advice that you shared.
You have a sample size of 35 people now, right? It's one of 35 people. What about this? What if you took this list?
Yeah.
What if you took the list of 35 and you figured out a decoy? And you sent out a deal, but it's a fake deal. And you give them my number or somebody as the seller. And then you see who calls.
Well, yeah, but I don't give any of these people a seller's number. They just find it on their own.
Right. So you just give so why don't you do a deal for Halls Mill Road and say, hey, we just got this under contract. It's in Orange County. We bought for this and we're selling it for that. And then have them research and call me. See if somebody calls me. I'll be the decoy. That'd be fun.
Yeah, that is a good idea.
Because that
is a good idea.
Send it to that same 35 list. And my property is free and clear, so it's a great decoy. Like, you just be like, this is free and clear. This guy doesn't want it anymore.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. So you got me below market, and it's a great building site. It's a 3-acre lot. There's well and septic on it. Just do the whole thing. Or you could say there's a house on it. Whatever's going to be, there's a house here. So whatever you want to do.
That's a good idea.
Do it. We can talk about it more offline, because then we could trap them. It'd just be a trap. It'd be really fun.
That would be amazing. That would be amazing if I could actually trap them. That would be awesome. Yeah, that's a great idea. That's a great idea.
Yeah, just use my property and put together the flyer, and then just share it with me so I know what the deal is and I know what to say when they call me. Well, Jasper offered me this.
Yeah.
I really like him a lot. I want to stay with him. Just play the game. See what they do.
Yeah.
And give them my smartphone number so it's recorded.
Yeah.
So the incoming call comes to smartphone. All right.
Yeah.
We should talk about this off.
That's a good idea.
Probably not exciting podcasting, but I guess if you're into this idea, you'll be eager to see what happens if we can actually trap this person. That'd be really fun. Because if you're a wholesaler, you've been this way before. So if we could trap somebody, because there's this other guy I know down in Chatham who stole a deal from me this last year. I'd love to trap that guy too. But
I know. Yeah.
It'd be great if we could trap him. Got a way to make him lose money, but we can at least mess with the reputation.
Yeah.
If we do find out who it is, we can definitely, tell every wholesaler we know or other people in our circles, like, hey, this person's been stealing deals like consistently.
No.
All right. Uh, I don't know what else we have on that, but I think it's good that we talked it out because we came to that idea, and I think that could work because it was just
Yeah, I appreciate your feedback.
your business. Yeah, and can you not tell from when the property closes who closed on it? Like you
Well,
said one closed recently that you had under contract, and then they told you they were out, and then they closed it with somebody else. Can't you go into the public record and find out who closed it?
well, that one was actually a while ago. I was using that as an example because that was the last time that I ever got soft when someone gave me a sob story, essentially. Because
Yeah,
after that happened, I was like, okay, I'm not believing any of these stories again.
yeah,
But yes, I did look up I did look up who bought it. But the only problem is, it's most likely a wholesaler who snaked me, not a direct buyer.
right.
And so you can't see a wholesaler on the tax records, because they're not ever recorded unless they double close. So
Did
no,
you?
I couldn't figure out.
So you're still sending deals out to wholesalers?
Oh yeah, obviously, yeah, apparently,
But you don't know that they're
yeah,
wholesalers. They're posing as builders
yeah.
and remodelers. Okay. Yeah.
But then there's also the people. I know there are people on my list that do wholesale, like my good friend Kevin. I hope it's not him. I don't think it's him, but I know there's Kevin. There's Eric Timmermans, if you know him. There's a few people that started as buyers, but then they did start their own wholesaling businesses. So it's possible that those people are the ones taking my deals. I would hope not, because like I said, I thought I could trust these people, but yeah, there are a few people that I know wholesale, but
Yeah.
they are legitimate buyers as well. So it's difficult.
Yeah. And I guess the only other thing is what you mentioned is like, if you know you've got a really good profit and you have the cash reserves to buy the deal, I would just buy the deal, right now until
Yeah,
you figure this out
yeah,
because that's 75K.
yeah,
Like, you know, we're doing that. We've talked about this before. Like, when you're starting out, you might not have the money to do it unless you're doing some of these lower end land deals, like I started out with, where you can buy it for a grand or two, or three or four. But uh, if you have the money in the bank and you're going to make 25 or 35 or 40K, freaking buy it. You know, or and then put it on MLS because then you're locking in your
yeah,
profit and you're not worrying about this whole dynamic. And I know it's limiting that way because you only have so much in your war chest to do it
yeah,
with, but you know, it's worth it if the profit's big enough to just close quickly with the seller and then deal with the buyers later. And if this climate is
definitely.
more and more
Yeah,
competitive and we're getting more and more people coming in who are willing to compromise integrity for money, then we might have to do more of that.
yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, I appreciate the feedback, and thanks to anyone also for listening to me vent. I know this wasn't maybe the most actionable topic to talk about. It was just me frustrated, but
Well, it's also an
yeah, there
insight.
was definitely some good.
If you're wholesaling deals, you've run into this. If you're wholesaling a bunch of deals, and if you're new, then you need to know that it's out there. So
Yeah,
I think it's good to have it.
yeah, definitely. All right. Well, thank you again for listening to me and giving me feedback. I think we can wrap it up now. Do you have anything else you want to share before we wrap it up?
No, it's funny because I pulled up that deal that I closed this week just to see when you were telling your story. I was like, well, what was the deal we closed? So this one was from a January direct mail campaign. I just said I was canceling direct mail, but this is
Yeah.
the campaign that we launched in uh, January 23rd was when the campaign launched. It was a campaign for land on direct mail. And
Nice.
that was, launched the campaign January 23rd and closed the deal on March, whatever, 15th or something. So that was pretty fast.
That is super quick.
Yeah,
That's super quick
like a really
because you got to think the mail.
somebody called on the letter, yeah, because it takes 2 weeks for the letters to go out, and then somebody called in,
Yeah,
and we sold it on the 14th of February. So yeah, it happened very fast.
that's great.
Yeah,
That's great.
but I'm still dropping direct mail for now because of the cost of it.
Yeah. That's awesome though. That's a super quick deal.
Direct mail does work, and depending on where you are in the country, it might work better for you. We're in a highly competitive place nationwide. I think this is kind of a hotbed for real estate investors, and people are coming from all over the country trying to invest here. So our direct mail rate dropped from 1.5% to 2% 3 years ago to 0.5% this year. So yeah, it became a lot more
Yeah.
expensive cost per lead for us, and that's why we're switching over. But yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I'll share the James Clear. I don't think it's actually from this week, but I saved this one, and it's funny because when I'm reading through this directly pertains to what I just shared. So I'll share this real quick, then we can wrap up. So 3 ideas. Number one, if you want to avoid criticism, create less. If you want to avoid irrelevance, create more. Um, so I think that has a direct correlation to what we were just talking about. Because if you want to avoid someone snaking your deals, then don't do any deals. But if you want to avoid making money, then you have to do deals. So, but number two, I can't control the other person's behavior, but I can control my response. Their actions may be rude or unacceptable, but I still want my response to be measured and thoughtful. Even if they aren't doing what is right, I still want to make sure I'm doing what's right. So that's a good one too.
Yeah.
And then third, in theory, consistency is about being disciplined, determined, and unwavering. In practice, consistency is about being adaptable. Adaptability is a way of consistency. And I'll do the question. Design for relaxation. What is one change I can make to my environment that promotes mental peace and reduces stress?
Nice.
Yeah, that's it for anyone who is listening. That is by James Clear. He does a weekly newsletter. You can sign up on his website. And yeah, do you have anything else before we wrap it?
No, that's all I've got.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for listening and watching another episode. If you want to reach out to us at all, you can find us both on Facebook. I'm Jasper Cool, and my dad Mark Cool, and yeah, he'll leave the show notes for the National Vendor Management Services, and I'll report back next week on how that went for me once I complete my order. So, but yeah, if you have any comments or anything you want to touch on in future episodes, just leave them below. And thanks for listening. See you next time.
Yeah.